If you're a Canucks fan, this hurts. It really does. And you know what? No, I take that back. It doesn't hurt. It feels really, really bad. And it feels like there's a tightening in your chest and you just want to scream. But if you're a Leafs fan, this feels like a huge sigh of relief. You're kind of annoyed and you're kind of frustrated, but ultimately there's a sense of relief there. Because the Vancouver Canucks have just hosted the Toronto Maple Leafs for the first time at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in like 13 years. Here in Rogers Arena, here in Vancouver, the Canucks and the Maple Leafs played at 7. It's not the typical 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time start because the NHL scheduling is favoring Toronto, and we know that Toronto will typically be favored in these scheduling situations because the majority of NHL fans among the two fan bases will be from Toronto. So this was already quite a significant game. It always is when the Canucks play the Leafs, especially in Vancouver. You could hear the Go Leafs Go chants from the moment the game began, but as this is a Vancouver Canucks primarily related channel, we will cover things with a Vancouver Canucks point of view, despite me also being a tertiary Leafs fan as well. The Vancouver Canucks and the Leafs played in a game where the Leafs ultimately took 4-1. Now, the Vancouver side of me says that this game was won by Frederik Andersen and his uncanny ability to save pretty much everything, and the Vancouver Canucks' inability to actually do things on breakaways. Brock Boeser, I'm looking at you. So, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Yeah, we lost this game because Boeser couldn't score several times on the breakaway. We lost this game because Horvat couldn't convert on his chances on the breakaway. We lost this game because the Vancouver Canucks' defensive pressure kind of coughed it up and laid everything out freely for the Toronto Maple Leafs and their number one offensive core to absolutely pounce on a vulnerable Jacob Markstrom. Meanwhile, the Leafs, on the other hand, they did have their defensive lapses too, but Frederik Andersen bailed them out, so it's all working out in the end for the Leafs' favor. And the game starts out really hot. It's a really fast, really quick, really anticipatory game from both sides. In the first period, it's blistering fast. Both teams are going back and forth, chances at either end, both goalies doing an amazing job at keeping their teams in the game. Up until the second period, where the Vancouver Canucks cough up a chance because the puck squeaks in behind the net and nobody covers out Tavares. Somebody goes onto him a little bit late, but by the time Tavares has a check on him, he throws it out into the middle for Auston Matthews, who nobody is guarding, who shoots it, he scores it, it's 1-0 Toronto. The Canucks fan in me is saying, wow, what unfortunate coverage there by the Vancouver Canucks, and the Leafs get on the board. And the Leafs fan in me is like, yes, Tavares played it out in front of Matthews. Heck yeah. That's another point for Captain Johnny T. That's another point for the Snake himself. And Auston Matthews gets the Leafs on the board. Then come the end of the second period where things look like they're going to end off 1-0 because the game is still back and forth, the teams are still going back and forth, chances are coming out at either end, and then all of a sudden with 20 seconds to go, a Cody Ceci point shot is deflected by John Tavares. 11 goals on the year for John Tavares, and Cody Ceci and Marner get on the board too with the assists in this one. It's a really nice tip, and this one is just, what are you going to do about it? If you're a Canucks fan, you're watching this like, oh, really? A really nice looking goal like that you can't really do anything about. You could say what you want about the zone exits and clearing the zone and all that, but for the most part, the Canucks just choked away a 1-0 deficit in exchange for a 2-0 deficit to end the second period. The Leafs fan in me is like, oh, that feels great. 2-0. That's way more secure than it was before. But the Canucks fan in me is like, great, we're absolutely going to lose this game. Because you know that this is the kind of game the Vancouver Canucks are just going to not find a way to score in. Frederik Andersen looks absolutely phenomenal up at the 40-minute mark. The guy's made some crazy good saves, and the Canucks can't buy a goal from him even if they won the lottery there. Then come the third period, where things are looking a little bit great, and the Canucks are starting to become a little bit more hot, and the Canucks are starting to get breakaways. It's Brock Boeser who comes in. He shoots it, and it's saved by the glove. And then just give it a little bit, and all of a sudden it's Brock Boeser again who comes in, shoots it on the right side, and it's saved by the glove. Then Elias Pettersson has a nice chance too. He shoots a nice one off the bar. He gets a few of them off the bar, in fact. And the Vancouver Canucks are starting to find ways to pile the offense on in the third period. Quinn Hughes is getting in there. Horvat's getting in there. JT Miller is getting his chances too. The Canucks look so dangerous, and the Leafs are hemmed in their zone. The Canucks fan in me is pissed off because I'm like, okay, there's no way the Canucks are going to score. We have these games where we go and we pound the offense and we just keep going and going and going, and the goalie stands on their head and the Canucks can't get it done. Meanwhile, the Leafs fan in me is like, okay, we're actually going to lose. The Canucks are going to score eventually, right? It's a weird bipolar thing, being both a Canucks and a Leafs fan, but being a primary Canucks fan, obviously you can tell just how well I'm doing after the game, right? But give it a few minutes, and eventually a long shot from the point. It's Quinn Hughes who gets it on net. Horvat touches it up. It's played into the middle. Pearson is jamming away at it, and all of a sudden some guy comes in from the outside, shoots it right into the net where Frederik Andersen can't control the rebound. What do you know? It's Josh Leivo. The former Leaf himself, who'd been scoring quite a few goals against his former team as a member of the Vancouver Canucks, gets it done. All of a sudden, it's a 2-1 game. My Canucks fandom side is freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, they actually scored. They got one. It's not going to be a 3-4-0 shutout win for the Leafs. They scored. I can't believe it. And the Leafs fan in me is like, okay, they're actually going to blow it. They're going to lose in overtime. Okay. But give it a few minutes and John Tavares comes in and he scores. What a great goal by John Tavares. Left wide open in front because the Vancouver Canucks defense can't find their positioning. And he takes it. He's got some room. He's got a shot and he scores. Blocker side on Markstrom, who'd been playing pretty great in the game in general, to be honest. But at that point, it's pretty much done. And the Canucks, you could tell right after that their mojo was kind of taken out. They were really, really hot when it was 2-0. When it was 2-0, they were all over the Leafs. But they just kind of collapsed after Tavares scored and it was 3-1. And then all of a sudden the empty net comes in and they do a few really good moves to block the empty net shots, denying Tavares the hat trick and then denying Cody Ceci a nice shot. But eventually, it's Jonathan Miller who takes the puck in behind the net, and he tries to chip it, like, up and through the stick of Zach Hyman, who's forechecking. He does a really cocky move, and it doesn't pay off because Hyman easily just picks it out of the air, takes it, and he's at the side of the net already, just slides it right over the goal line. At this point, it's 4-1 Leafs, and the Canucks fan in me is just completely dead. Now, I did say I'm a Leafs fan, so I was somewhat happy with this result, but the fact that I'm a Vancouver guy, living in this city, seeing the Leafs and seeing the impact that it has on our fan base, I can't help but feel the slightest hint of annoyance seeing the Leafs win a game like this, where I know the Canucks would probably win that one 7 or 8 times out of 10. Where I know Frederik Andersen wouldn't make 37 out of 38 shots 7 or 8 times out of 10. And where Andersen probably wouldn't stop 3 or 4 breakaways 9 out of 10 times. The guy just couldn't be beat. And Brock Boeser just couldn't score a goal. I was saying this at the end of the first period. If this was Boeser from 2 years ago, he would have had like 4 goals in this game. The snipes would have been accurate, the snipes would have been dangerous, and the snipes would have had the goalies biting, committing, and ultimately getting beaten. But Brock Boeser today is not the same Brock Boeser we've had 2 years ago. I might make a video about that on its own, but ultimately it's weird seeing Brock Boeser getting all these points and still saying that he's not as good as he was before. So, yeah, that's ultimately a video for another day, but the Leafs got their win. So, yeah, that's great if you're a Leafs fan. If you're a Canucks fan, I don't know how well you feel about this game, but I hope you enjoyed this video at least. Social Dash Rose 99. And bye.